Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm Nick McDaniel. He's Myron Fancher. How the heck are you, buddy?
I am great. Entering our 9th year of spanning the globe with the finest in wrestling podcasting.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
You want to get into that real quick first?
yeah, man, this is wonderful. 9 years of
So,
wrestling podcasting.
so the 8th anniversary was officially on Monday. We discussed it a little bit, just briefly, because we knew we probably would talk about it. That the 26th was their 8-year anniversary, so we're rolling into year 9. It's kind of hard to wrap your head around at times that we were so stupid not to quit a long time ago, like most people are smart enough to do.
Yeah, I didn't post about it on Facebook because I didn't want our wives to realize we've been doing it this long.
Yeah. My wife knew. She talked about it a little bit because she just kind of said, "Are you going to talk about it this week on the show?" And I'm like, "It might come up."
Yeah,
I'm guessing. I mean, not really sure, but maybe.
it's a wonderful hobby to have, people. I just don't know if you understand how much work goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think too many people do, but
No. Well, Nick is the dean of wrestling podcasting. This man devotes so much into this. It's amazing. I wish y'all could see behind the scenes what the Godfather has done here. Thank you, sir.
if they could hear me complaining and cussing all the time off the air when we're trying to fix stuff and change. I change a little intro, and then the wheels feel like they come off, and settings are all over the place. And
this is the stuff I'm constantly trying to learn how to do. Is the stuff he does every day. So, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Well, we also made a big announcement too. And look, if you're a YouTube member, Patreon member, whatever, wherever, we discussed it a little bit. So you do want to make sure that you are becoming a YouTube. Look, subscribe on our YouTube channel, like the page, subscribe, turn your notifications on, all that, so you don't miss a single thing. You can even become a member there, just like you can on Patreon, patreon.com/tappedoutpod. It's kind of important. We touched on it a little bit this week on the other show. We talked about, I kind of got to get more clarity because some people hit me up with some emails. And you think some people had some questions, Myron?
There's been a few questions. It's not as complicated, though, as it sounds like.
And it's not as bad as it sounds. That's the key thing. I had a lot of people who are like, hey, I said, so the old feed will essentially stop. Keep that that's really important. I'm no longer going to go through a podcast service and actually distribute it out to all of the smaller ones. Primarily, most even audio podcast listeners, they were on the big, the Apple Podcast and Spotify kind of run the world when it comes to those two at this point. So we can continue to do that because I have double-checked this morning. The Patreon feed, the free feed, is going to Spotify already. You just have to look it up. It's Tapped Out Studios. Go find it. You'll see the logo. So it's a different logo on Spotify. So just subscribe to that one, and you won't miss a beat. Or if you're a Apple Podcast listener, you can simply become a free member. This is the key parts I'm trying to tell everybody. A free member of the Patreon, and they'll give you a link, and you can open it up in the Apple Podcast, and I'll probably do a video. We talked about that on our YouTube channel, Facebook channel, whatever, or Patreon, where you can basically set it up, and then that feed will go to your Apple Podcast, and you'll continue to be able to listen. The easiest thing you could probably do, YouTube Music.
Yeah.
It pumps podcasts straight to it. You can go in, you can sign, subscribe to it, and then you'll get it on your YouTube Music. And it's a free,
It's just like having a YouTube account. It's just like having a Google account. It's so simple. I use it for almost everything I listen to outside.
So, from my understanding, just so you're kind of, because you brought it up, YouTube Music essentially is what replaced Google Podcasts. Google Podcasts went away because they were basically branding it out as YouTube Music. And that's kind of why it's different. So it's same concept. It's all there. We're just essentially we're not going to be on the lower tiered podcast platforms anymore. We weren't getting enough listeners on there at that point. So just everybody move over to Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube Music, and you'll still have the audio.
And you still have the audio, and apparently a lot of people prefer to watch us talk. I understand, but then that's the new format I see everybody doing these video podcasts in is YouTube. So we are right here to service your needs.
And did you know that you could do the video on YouTube Music Zap.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, most
It's
people
a
don't know that. So,
fascinating. All the places you can look at us.
but yeah, the big part is you could just do the audio if you wanted to. You could do the videos, totally up to you. So, hey, look, we just appreciate the sport no matter when and where you're doing it.
Yes.
Especially for you guys who've been along for the ride for the whole 8 years. Thanks for all that.
Yes.
We know we've got obviously like we are not dumb and we've realized a lot of people came in a lot later that they haven't been with us since day one.
Well, some of the first stuff wasn't very good, but we got past that. We got past that because we've watched a lot of wrestling in that time and done a lot of research. And good Lord, I really don't think the wrestling I've watched has been as good the last couple of weeks prior to Bash in Berlin.
Yeah, man. Look, let's dive right into it. Like, Bash at Berlin's this weekend. Am I the only one who's kind of cool, like really cool with Saturday or Sunday PLEs at 1:00 in the afternoon?
Don't bother me, except for now it's football season. So, but I can watch two things at once. I mean, or watch the PLE after the game's over, or watch the game after the PLE's over.
If you're watching the football game and it's a blowout, then you just jump over and you start the PLE.
Because we were
pay-per-view for the Smackdown.
Yeah. Melissa was talking about going over to Billy's house, and if I really want to see the pay-per-view live, I'll just look at it on my phone. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're not talking about a complicated world anymore, people. It's a good-looking pay-per-view with another 5-match card, which is like, what, 2.5 hours?
We've discussed this in the past, and I'm going to ask you now, like, is that like, All In was this past weekend. We discussed that on the Tapped In show. If you want to check that out, go back in the, like I said, on this week's episode, Heath and I dove into that one. But they were like, counting the pre-show, it was 12 matches. It was 9 matches on the card.
Yeah.
Is it the justification of it's a free on the PLE on the Peacock system, but with a pay-per-view through AEW, you got to pay $50 to watch it?
Yeah, I mean, if I were giving $50, I would want 12 matches. But I'm a Peacock member already. And I'm going to get 5 super good matches they've put a lot of work into on the storyline. I mean, dynamite amount of work into with CM Punk.
Have you ever went? Hold on. I want to back up because this is what I want to ask you. We're both big Gunther fans. We're both massive Randy Orton fans.
Yes.
And I know they've done a good job building this. But here's the but. Has there ever been a time when you have felt Randy Orton has like no shot to win than this? Like every match he's won for the world title, I've always thought I just don't think he has a shot here because, I mean, you're not going to derail Gunther this fast.
I can't see him derailing Gunther this fast, and I believe what we're going to get is probably the best display of professional wrestling you're going to be able to get in the WWE. I mean, you're not going to get this level of two guys that are. I mean, Randy may not be where he was athletically 10 years ago, but he is really killing it right now. And Gunther is at the top of his game. So I suspect this will be a 5-star, even by Meltzer standards, match.
I don't know that I care about that part, but I mean,
well, I'm giving it.
Anything Randy Orton has lost in athletic, which it ain't much, he's made up and then some in experience and how good he is in the ring.
Yeah.
But I just, like I said, I just can't. Now, you could zig, or zag, whatever you want to say, and just stun everybody because, like, hey, Gunther's going to have another long 666-day reign or whatever. I'm like, okay, hey, I don't see that happening with the world title.
No.
But it's possible. And maybe that's it. Maybe him and Randy Orton like do the back and forth on a couple PLEs, just to kind of show that Randy still got it. By the way, I'm always intrigued. I know John Cena has mentioned he doesn't want to wrestle Randy Orton per Randy Orton. He's like, unless creative comes up with it, there's really no desire to wrestle guys he's already wrestled a million times.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd love to see Randy Orton get there and them basically be fighting over 17 against each other.
Well,
or something like that.
You put 15 on Randy, and then they go 16 to 17. That could be interesting. But Gunther's just too good right now. He's got to keep it. I saw the funniest quote I've seen in a long time watching wrestling the Smackdown, where Kevin Owens said they don't even have adrenaline in their souls as they ran the bad guys off at the end of the Smackdown. Uh, him and Cody, Nick, where is this? What is this? Do we see a turn here? Is that what
I
we're
don't
going to
think
get?
so. I don't believe so. It could happen, but I don't believe so. And unfortunately, gotta walk a careful line here. I haven't been so disinterested in a undisputed title match in 4 years,
No,
5 years.
no
Yeah.
adrenaline in your soul.
Not for this match. I mean, you're gonna have it's two baby faces wrestling each other, for the title.
Interference, some kind of swerve.
Look, I'm going out on a limb and saying, Bloodline's probably gonna get their interference in there somehow, some way, whatever. And Kevin Owens has to help him.
Tag team championship, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know that this is. Is this a place where Roman has to help him again? Because it's those two, but they're outnumbered, so he has to help them again.
I'm interested to see. I don't know what's going to happen with Randy already on the card.
Let me ask you that, because here's the thing: it's not that I'm not interested to see what happens in this match. I'm not interested in the match itself.
No, it felt like this match itself is like, here, have a match.
Hey, buddy, let's wrestle. Okay,
yeah,
that's what. Anyway, the match that I think everybody on the planet is probably here's the thing. I know you can't put this ahead of the two title matches as far as being the main event, but couldn't you though? Because that's kind of where we are, right? Like this is the match like the CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre in a strap match. Like this is how we got here. Like this is the pay-per-view, in my opinion.
Well, a year ago, CM Punk was over in AEW, ruining All In, according to some people, and now he's here in WWE in Germany. Not the highlight of pay-per-view, but the part people care the most about. Apparently, being a locker room leader, from what everybody says, and this is the best story on the entire pay-per-view. The one I'm most interested in, a hot match, the strap match. So interesting to see what's going to go on here. This is the only really big thing I'm looking forward to as far as chemistry. Randy and Gunther will be a good match, but this is going to be just the bad.
Well, this is the story. This is what people pay to see. Like people pay to see stories and emotions and feelings, and that's what they do. They look. The argument would be that's what Punk does best. He's come out there. He's telling stories. He's tapping into emotions and feelings, and that's kind of that's what promos are for.
Payoff match.
By the way,
in the old days.
Tip your cap to Drew McIntyre, who, like, we've known he's been good for years, but he's rising to the occasion, going back and forth and toe to toe in promos with the best promo in the game, right? Like everybody's talking about how great Punk is. Drew's hanging with him, dude, and you can't take that away from him.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen here. Not so much with the mixed tag, not because of the people involved, but because I don't know how the mixed tag dynamic is going to work with the amount of bad blood involved in this match.
Yeah.
Dominic and Priest, I don't know how that's going to come out. It's interesting to see, but the women involved in this match and Dominic are going to be the what draws the entire match together.
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's paying. Look, Dominic, by the way, is the side piece to the story when you're talking about, like, the story is now is Rhea and Liv, and that clash everybody wants to see a fair one-on-one. I think that's where we're trying to get to, but, it's kind of cool to.
Yeah.
But, yeah, cool for them, man.
The one they stuck on the bottom of the card, the women's tag, which, I mean, the women's tag is on every single show there is right now. I couldn't see Isla Dawn doing a better job. I mean, she's killing it. Alba Fire's killing it, getting a ton of exposure. That's somebody. I mean, we saw Isla Dawn back in AEW, back when they were running in Atlanta all the time, and everybody says this is where. What do they call Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill? I know they call her Storm.
Nah,
EST
they gave
and
them all a name. I'm drawing a blank on it too, but yeah, they gave their whole team a name with Naomi and Jade and Bianca, like they're a
yeah.
team or whatever.
But is this where the turn is, Nick? Somebody turns heel. Everybody keeps saying they stuck this on the card for somebody to turn heel. Would be a horrible time, in my opinion, for one of them to turn heel. Still,
I just don't think they're going to. I think they've got her. They're just trying to protect Jade, and I don't think they. I think that team works. There's a lot about it that's really
yes,
good, and so I
yes,
think you just leave that be. But yeah, I don't. I could see them making the switch now.
yeah. It's a lot of people that need to
Look,
get over strong.
well, I think Bianca and Jade add a lot to those titles. They
Yeah,
help make those titles, and
yeah.
I think Dawn and Fire have kind of gotten the. You know what I mean? I think they've kind of gotten the
Enough rub.
mileage out of it. Yeah, that they have been champs. They can use that in as they're on their resume. And look, I'm not saying they're going to break up and go away. I just think like, hey, we've done this part. Like they let them win, and now we're going to put them back. Like let's put them back on these guys, and or these ladies, and let them elevate those titles back even more so. Because then it gives you by the way, because those titles are defended everywhere.
Yeah,
Now Bianca and Jade get to bounce all over every show.
yeah. That's good. There's women's factions now. Apparently, Triple H has been factioning up the women's. Is that going to strengthen the women's division? You think?
Look, same concept. Put a bunch of put a bunch of ladies together. Let's try to get the group as a whole over to elevate everybody. Let's see if somebody spins out and becomes the star or whatever. And it's just here's the thing: a lot of people don't talk about with factions. It's another way to have a lot of people on TV and stay in front of your mind, but they don't have to wrestle. Like if one's
Ah,
wrestling, they're all out there. If they're
okay.
one of them's in the ring cutting a promo, they're all in the ring cutting the promo. So it's not. Well, I haven't been on TV in 4 weeks. Like no, if one of the three of you is on TV, all three of you are on TV.
I mean, Carlito's on TV every week.
Right.
Carlito, for Christ's sake. I mean,
Multiple segments.
yeah,
Because if it's in a promo, oh, there's Carlito, and there's oh, there's Carlito, So that's kind of
that is
another thing that people I think take that for granted. Like you do at least you're in front of everybody, and
hmm.
so it's not out of sight, out of mind kind of thing. So, but
One
look,
guy
I
that's
think
not out of sight, I tell you. One guy, if you call his name, he appears, Nick. Joe Hendry is going to be on the pay-per-view for NXT on Sunday. After being on the pay-per-view for TNA on Friday, and he won't be there for TNA to start tapings on Sunday, but Mr. Hendry has the chance to win the NXT belt on Sunday. So
yeah,
our friend Noah from Boston, Massachusetts wants to know, what do you think the ramifications would be if Joe Hendry won the NXT title?
I to me it's a win-win, don't you think?
That's hard to say. If he's running around with the title and he loses, I mean, they're not going to like pull some kind of, mud show crap and take it off of him and put it on a TNA star and not give it back or run off with the title.
Dude, see, that's we're gonna get to this in a minute, but like Scott D'Amore was doing an interview recently, and wanted to point out because people were asking because he was there in TNA like when this kind of thing started
Yeah.
with Jordan Grace going to the Rumble and everything.
Yeah.
And he said, look, he was going to be out of town or something, whatever, but Triple H took the time before the Rumble because he was going to be out of touch during the Rumble for whatever because he was going to be away. And Triple H messaged him and was like, hey, just wanted to touch base. I know you're about to go out of town or whatever, but I wanted to let you know this is what we've come up with, and we'll see, make sure you were cool. Like, literally, like, working to say, like, hey, we just want to make sure you're cool with what we've come up with, and if that works for you. And he was like, in the old days, they could have taken her, let him leave, and done whatever they wanted to with her in
Yeah.
the Rumble and just be mad about it and whatever. He goes, that's where we are now. It's like, this is a different time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this gets this far if we haven't already planned out. And because people started to ask the question, right, what's in it for TNA other than having their talents appear on a show that gets 600, 700, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
1,000 viewers a week, right? Which, by the way, is going to just, pause. They're going to CW here shortly. Do they skyrocket in view? I mean, what's the upside on the number for you?
If they can move all this stuff back and forth, move this belt, put NXT and TN over, here's a controversy that's going to be all over the front of any wrestling news that the NXT title was lost and taken. So what are you going to do? You're going to have to watch these different wrestling programs to find out what happens.
What if on CW, mind you, on the CW, Joe Hendry says, I'm going to defend this title everywhere, and it starts this Thursday on TNA Impact, whatever, check it out. What if Joe Hendry defeats Ethan Page, but Joe Hendry's first defense against Ethan Page is on TNA Impact?
Yep. And Ethan Page is killing it right now.
Mm-hmm.
NX Me. Oh, man, I love what the guy's doing. He's always had so much potential to just be amazing. Finally getting it right now on NXT, just the opportunity. They're killing it back and forth with what they're doing with him. I really could see this actually happening, taking the NXT belts there. And it's safe to assume that Triple H and Shawn Michaels and the people over at TNA have planned this entire thing.
Yeah. Because let's go back to, hold on, I'm going to ask you, do you remember when Joe Hendry shows up for the first time, goes in that little battle, boop, and gets dumped right out?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, well, you wasted all of that for him in there for 10 seconds, whatever he was in there. And Joe Hendry kind of in that video, the promo walking out, was like, I'll be back.
Yeah.
What if the entire time we're going to make, because it's more of an impact that there's more buzz talk that he was eliminated so fast out of that thing. Mm-hmm. But now, the push and everybody hollering, like they want him to win this belt.
Yes. It's
I think it's a great opportunity.
It's amazing. It's an amazing opportunity for everybody concerned. And look they've got amazing matches on this card with Roxanne Perez and Jada Parker. I love that. I can't wait to see that. They've got that whole match with Kalani Jordan versus Wendy Chu. I don't understand Wendy Chu. It's going to be a good match. Obafemi. Have you watched any of Obafemi, Nick?
Oh yeah.
That guy's insane. So I'm sure there's going to be interesting stuff on this. My main thing I'm looking forward to is that championship match.
Yeah.
I don't get all of the gimmicks, but plenty of tags. Plenty of title matches on this card. So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, because look, it's when we look at this card, a lot of people mock the card because of the like, hey, I don't recognize a lot of these names. And I was talking to a friend of the show literally yesterday before we record, so that'd been Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And he asked me, he saw, and look, we're not into the, us like the ratings per numbers, etc. But it was funny. He asked me a question that I think I've asked you before. Like, how in the world is NXT, and I get it, they're on different nights, but they're both on, one's on Tuesday, one's on Wednesday. He's like, with this roster, he turned on NXT. He said he hadn't watched the NXT in 6 months.
Yeah.
And he watched the NXT last week, and he was like, I didn't recognize hardly anybody other than, Ethan Page, and then, of course, Joe Hendry because of all of the buzz.
Yeah.
But he's like, 90% of that card, I have no idea who they are. So what question did he ask me about the ratings between those two promotions?
How is NXT doing so well against AEW?
How are they even competitively close in a number? Not like competition head-to-head. He just meant, how are they just drawing even close? Like, Dynamite should be smoking it.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's just crazy that they're even competitive. And he goes, and I said, is that a testament to the power and the role that WWE's on? Just it's WWE NXT that they even a third of the people that are watching Raw and SmackDown are watching NXT. That's to me a cool thing because it's completely nothing but developmental. That's all.
Yeah, and it's those NIL athletes. There's a ton of those. I don't see how they're going to keep a lot of those people on the roster, especially with those big hirings they brought. I'd predicted there's probably going to be some layoffs before Halloween. So,
they're on a roll.
If they're training right now, if they're getting up and going out to the gym and all that, what do they need prior to the going, Nick? Get them a little energy.
That's right, man. Get a little bit of energy with Dubby Energy. Dubby.gg is where you want to head over to. Look, it's got zero sugar, no artificial colors or dyes, no secret formulas, no hidden ingredients. It's gluten-free. It's really, really cool for you. And Myron, what's your favorite part of the whole thing with Dubby?
The cost. I love being able to get up and get $1, drink of me some Dubby instead of having to go to the store and buy monsters and go to Starbucks and get all those expensive coffees. Because, man, I wake up early and I get up to do things like the show or take something on an errand for the wife, and I don't have any strength and get up power. But I get my Dubby and I can get through the day, get me some of that dragon fruit. No jitters. I just feel so much better. I would definitely try this out, folks. No gluten, no sugar. Great for you.
Yeah, man. And like you said, those flavors, they're custom made. They're only their flavors. They're not something you're going to taste anywhere else. And my favorite part of the whole thing, made here in the USA, man. That's right. Dubby.gg. Head on over there right now. Use promo code TappedOutPod and get 10% off your first order at Dubby.gg.
So let's go to our next question. We got our friend Ryan from Nashville, Tennessee. He's wanting to know if wrestling is starting to play nice globally. Well, looks like it is, Nick. We saw a guy wrestle in Buford the other day who we saw wrestle in England the other day, and then apparently went down to Mexico and won the tag team titles.
So yeah, he was in Buford in Mexico. He literally was bouncing around, like winning tag gold at Triple Mania. Then he's over in London wrestling on, the All In, AEW's biggest show of the year. It's insane, man. It's there's that. You got JBL showing up at AAA. Oh, by the way, then he shows up at GCW at their homecoming show.
Yeah.
It's Nick Nemeth, because JBL was with Nick Nemeth in Triple Mania at AAA. I mean, it's just kind of blowing your head. Like, we just had conversations. We were just talking about the whole TNA NXT thing. I mean, is there anybody not at this point? Is there anybody that there's not playing together at this point?
I mean, WE's working with Noah and Bloodsport. The whole thing with AEW and TNA that didn't work out real well. I can't even judge how the New Japan and all that went. They were accused of poaching a lot of Japanese talent. But a lot of the AEW talent can work everywhere. Their contracts aren't exclusive. They show up on shows all over the country, from indie shows to showing up in Japan. It's really kind of the Wild West. And with WWE letting people work in other places, are we entering a time where we're in a small territory system where the big guys will let you work circuits in other places?
I think, look, at one of, I can't remember which press conference it was after or what PLE it was after. Like, it's cool that, it's just a different mindset. And I think Triple H, the WWE kind of, now that they're on board with this concept, it's kind of leads the industry because everybody follows the top player in the game. And, he came out and he basically, they were asking about TNA NXT. But he kind of, what he said leads you to believe he gets it on a bigger scale that they have to, as the lead promotion in the world, they're the global leader in pro wrestling. Let's call it for what it is. He understands that they do have a responsibility to help the industry as a whole because WWE can't employ everybody. They couldn't right now and take everybody from TNA, everybody from AEW. They just can't. Financially, it can't be done. So can we help TNA, prosper and keep all these people under contract? Because, by the way, those people are getting better. And then potentially, yes, there is something we might be able to do, sign them down the road if we're interested in them. Bloodsport, the GC. Because somebody asked me, messaged and was like, oh, I guess, JBL's Legends deal's over because he's in GCW or whatever. I was like, probably not. Hunter was probably like, dude, we're selling your shirts. We're making some merch. You make some appearances every now and then. You can get a payday by going down there. All right, man, do your thing, bro.
Yeah, he's going to be at WrestleCade.
I just think it's just a different time across the board. I think that's where we're at. I just think, and it's cool to see that. look, again, we've teased names that, like at Turnbuckle local shows.
Yeah.
AEW, Ring of Honor, blah, 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 and guys on and on and on.
That Satnam Singh guy we were talking about earlier, you're getting to see better and bigger talent on local shows so they can improve. AEW is behind some of the money getting passed around to independents to help
and
them
I think,
improve.
look, kudos to them, by the way. I do think they deserve some of the credit for beginning. Look, I know the TNA thing didn't work, and I know the New Japan thing people are rocky on, but they did it.
Mm-hmm.
They started, and I think that's kind of been a huge plus for them. So
yeah. Well, that leads into our next question. When our friend Ben from Charlotte, North Carolina, has asked, "What do you guys think about AEW going more international?" Well, everybody else is doing
it. Yeah. I mean, look, they were already doing, they did All In now, obviously twice in London.
Yeah.
I think let's go jump to the end of our notes, right, about this question. When we have this conversation of, it's pretty easy for us in the U.S. to get self-centered and think like we're the end-all, be-all of the wrestling world and everything, because for decades it did revolve around us for the most part. Like college football, like they just did a big game in Dublin, right?
Yep.
The NFL's running games in Mexico City, I believe in Munich, Germany. They're going to run a game, I believe, in a London game, and maybe another one in another international. It's like
there'll be a Super Bowl there, probably in the next 10 years, easily.
It's possible. I do think so. It is possible, but it's going to take a ton of money to make it happen. But I think the importance of that is these other baseball, basketball, like they're all doing it. They're starting to figure out like, hey, we talked about this. I can't remember where it was. We've maxed out the dollar in the U.S. Matter of fact, we've saturated to the point that it's probably costing us money.
Yeah.
Right? The longer AEW run, like people are talking about like, the attendance, and they're giving a million reasons. Go places that they're hungry for it. I think every WWE PLE, and by the way, in case you missed the AEW show before the pay-per-view that they ran, that crowd was hot and was into it.
Yeah.
And it made a world of difference in the presentation. So, that being said, I'm not stunned by this. I mean, they're going to run the Forbidden Door is actually kind of quasi-replacing All In, because All In's coming to Texas.
Yeah, yeah.
But then because it's literally it's the same week. It's August 25th. It's essentially the same week.
Well, we're also seeing though how important television penetration is, because AEW is coming to ESPN Australia, and then to correspond with that, they're going to get a big show over there.
So they had Grand Slam. They announced it. It's going to be in February in Australia, Brisbane. It's a smaller, and I know a lot of people were calling it flat. So why not Sydney? Why not Melbourne? For whatever reason, they're running in a cool stadium. They're picking up Collision. They already had Dynamite and Rampage on ESPN Australia, so now they're picking up Collision as well. So you're going to have all of their content being pumped out in there. And by the way, they're going to have the perk of they get to air live the Grand Slam there in Australia. So it's like I said, the penetration is a huge aspect of it. I think it's helping them. Just they're going to become. Do they become one of the keys? And by the way, the Elimination Chamber was in Australia, did great numbers. So maybe TK's like, let's give it a whirl. Because here's the thing. Let me ask you. I want to say the same thing about All In. That I may have said this on the other show, and I apologize if I did. But they only sold 54,000 tickets, this year versus last year. I'm like, no, they sold 53 or 54,000 tickets.
Yeah.
The trend could be concerning. I understand. We lost 30,000 people, whatever. But we still had a heck of a day at the office. We sold 54,000 tickets.
Yeah.
Roughly.
And had an incredibly high buy rate too. So that was good for that on top of it.
So if you go to Australia and you only sell 35,000 tickets, you sold 35,000. What would you have sold in a building?
You still paid your way there, and you're not. I mean, it's not copying WWE. You're copying the dollar. You're following the money.
Correct.
You'd have to be a fool to just say, nope, not going to get this money because WWE did it before.
Yeah. So it's all about the future, man, and I think that's where we've said it at WWE.
Yes.
Kudos for AEW to going like, listen, man, if that's where the money's at, let's go get it.
Oh, yeah. And this is the one I'm stuck on because I can't figure this question out. You've been briefing me on it, but I'm still kind of stuck. Liam from Seattle, Washington wants to know, what's next for Bryan Danielson? I don't know, Nick. What do you think's next for him?
He's going to have to start defending the title because, he's the new AEW World Champion, defeats Swerve Strickland, at All In. Whole conversation, by the way. There's a whole conversation on the Tapped In show that I just went down a rabbit hole about, like, was it like why? Like, I didn't think he should win, but that doesn't matter. It's what Tony Khan wants. It's his company. But I guess so. What's next for him now? Wrestle Dream is in Tacoma, Washington. That's kind of right there.
Not too far away.
It's not far from Spokane.
Yeah, but I'm talking time wise either. That's
no. Yeah, it's October. Well, they're going to be there's a Dynamite right there in Spokane as well, right around that same time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So it's is that what's? I mean, is it literally to have him lose it in his hometown, get the standing up? Because I believe that probably they're going to come out. Obviously, folks, we joke about this all the time. We're recording this Wednesday before Dynamite happens.
Yes.
I could honestly see a scenario where basically Bryan Danielson says that when he loses the title, he's done. Because I thought he was going to lose and be done at All In. Because what a heck of a way to go out, right?
I mean, he may just lay it down tonight.
That's a huge possibility.
That could be a possibility. I mean, we're looking at it from the standpoint that he's going to continue wrestling and do the traditional thing of facing his last 3 or 4 dream opponents. But who's he got left that he's not faced?
So here's the tip I did not know. Shout out Conrad Thompson pointed this out in his live stream afterwards. The rumor is Kenny Omega is actually a little bit ahead of a schedule, so he should be back sometime in September. So if we're doing it, and I'm not saying Darby Allin has won a right to actually face for that title. He's not going to win that title, folks. Sorry. Could be. Now let me ask you a question. Does it do wonders for Darby Allin if he defeats Bryan Danielson for that title?
This is for the people that like the kind of thing. That's the kind of thing those people like. I'd rather see MJF or Kenny or Okada or somebody like that take it off of him.
That becomes the question. Do you have 2 paths that you can run? You can take the title off of him earlier because I'm drawing a blank when Darby gets his title. I can't remember. I think it's at Arthur Ashe at Grand Slam. I don't think it's at All Out, but I think it's at Arthur Ashe. So you could crown him there, and you still have a month or so in there to have Bryan Danielson, wrestle Okada, wrestle blah, and maybe he chooses his last match. Maybe he chooses his last. You know what I'm saying? Like, when is that moment to get his last match? So we'll figure that out. So. Whatever, but I think you get an Okada, you get a Omega, blah 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 blah. But I don't have any Swerve. Look, I have made a joke of, unfortunately, Swerve's going to go off clearly and wrestle with Hangman Page. So my original thought was have him drop it back to him, maybe potentially. But I think honestly, I don't know what's next for him. But I got every gut feeling for some reason, I can see them letting Darby Allin beat him for that title because I think it would do wonders for Darby Allin. They already considered him one of the pillars of the company and all that kind of stuff and whatever. Because who knows what's next?
With thumbtacks stuck to his face, Nick.
The sad part was if you liked that type of match, it wasn't bad. I actually watched it. It wasn't bad.
But that's wrestling Bryan Danielson, one of the greatest of all times. A wrestler.
But maybe that's it. Maybe that's it. Maybe this is the moment where Bryan Danielson says, they're going to go at it, but he wants Darby to wrestle. Like, I know you're a good wrestler. I know you can do that. And he challenged it. And because you don't know, Darby could go out there and actually wrestle. You know what I'm saying? And that could be the moment.
I don't know
where
if he
switch
can.
him.
I don't know enough about him. I'll be honest with you, I've really avoided watching him over the years as much as I could. I'm sorry, the cult of Cornette has come out in me that I've really avoided watching him. So
I think it could be the moment in his career where we flip the switch. That's the opportunity I would take, is for him to wrestle Bryan Danielson and wrestle him and not. I mean, look, he's going to do crazy moves, but no thumbtacks, no glass, no no wet, none of that. Just straight out go out there and out wrestle and beat Bryan Danielson and become the AEW World Champion, and like what that would do for him long term. And maybe, like I said, that's the moment in his career where it switches him into the wrestler Darby Allin, and we only get that other guy when it's crazy and necessary and hot feuds.
So you put a singlet on him, get him some boots.
No, I'm not talking like I'm not talking like that. I'm not talking about like he's going to go out there and be doing drop toe holds and stuff. But I meant like go out there and actually wrestle. He might. Hell, I don't know. But I meant wrestle. No crazy, no weapons, none of that. Just go out there and wrestle him and beat him. Because, by the way, I don't know if because clearly you haven't seen it lately, because Bryan Danielson's been wrestling some crazy, stupid, like New Japan strong style matches. That's what he wanted to end his career with, apparently, or whatever. And he's been giving them. So I'm like, dude, go out there and do one of those with Darby Allin and put him over.
Whatever it takes, man. Sell more tickets, make the fans happy. That's all that's important.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I think it could be a really, really smart move for them. I really do. So
okay,
but
okay.
Well, anyway, man. Speaking of selling tickets, let's try to do our part
and
help sell some tickets. Making the Drive, sponsored by jmartinandcompany.com for all your pressure washing, window cleaning, gutter cleaning, all that stuff needs. Commercial, residential, both. That's right. All of those needs. They're the only people that I really stand behind and push. jmartinandcompany.com. Look, you can go to their website, but my suggestion is go straight to their Facebook page, do the little boop, shoot them a message. They'll get back to you pretty quick, get you taken care of. I mean, look, it's who we trust with our families and whatever.
Yes.
So jmartinandcompany.com. And you never know when you come out to the show, Myron.
Yes.
You might see us sitting with Jamie Martin, the legend himself.
We may see him this week.
It is a possibility.
But probably not at Dragon Con. That's a big wrestling show all weekend for people who are in Atlanta for Dragon Con. They have a massive wrestling show that draws huge numbers. Unfortunately, we won't be able to make it, but blessings to everyone there. But
yeah,
what is running?
Listen, hold on. So Thursday, Dragon Con, go down, see friend of the show, CB Suave. There's a 1% chance we'll make it, but it's still there. So what do they say? So you're saying there's a chance.
Yes.
So, but, check out our buddy. CB Suave is going to be down there. And I got a feeling, I think he's going for a title.
Ooh.
Yeah. And, by the way, if CB Suave is in a title match, I'm always putting my money on CB Suave, man. That's just my take.
Smart decision.
But, yeah, man, Friday, Royston, Georgia, SCA, they're heading. They got their big anniversary show they're heading to. So it's just like, we always talk about it. It's like clockwork every Friday. Yep. SCA is going to be running.
Oh, yeah.
But look, they're heading to their big the September 6th show when Heath Slater's going to be in town.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, you got to set the table. You got to catch the go-home show.
Yep.
Because that's where they set all the pieces in place. So definitely check them out there in Royston, Georgia at Square Circle Action. But this Friday night, I know where we will be, and that is in Buford, Georgia at Tannery Row. Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling. I still stand behind my statement that it could be one of the most fun shows you'll go to. We're not talking about like as far as wrestling, booking, blah, 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 blah. Look, Turnbuckle is a fun, family-friendly event. What's cool about Tannery Row, I don't know how many tickets they have left, if they have any, for the VIP section. This time, the VIP experience is none other than QT Marshall himself. Going to get some pictures and, get the meet and greet with him.
Yes.
And you also get those set of tables up there on the stage that are the only place that you have a server that you can order off of the full menu, full drinking, full bar, everything. Everything else is concession, so they do have food for everybody else. But you know what I'm really, really, really stoked for we're going to see at Turnbuckle? Terry the Rocker Lawler
Yes.
back in Buford again
Yes.
at the Turnbuckle Championship Wrestling.
Yes. Always great to see Terry. The guy that took us to or invited us to our first indie show, QT Marshall, the vice president, the podcast guest, vice president of AEW, was it Talent and Creative? Or
Something
creative?
like that,
yeah. It's, so many hats he wears. It's going to be a great show, man. I'm looking forward to it. It's a great venue. It's a great thing for casual wrestling fans, birthday parties, anything like that. So I would definitely recommend it. Saturday though, there's all kind of shows running, man. Bash in Berlin is going to be running early, so get out to some indie shows that night, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, Bash at Berlin's going to kick off at 1. Should be over, I'm guessing, by 4:30 at the latest, probably, with those 5 matches.
Yeah.
You got time to jump on over to Buckhead, Georgia, GCW, Georgia Championship Wrestling there in Buckhead. Like I said, Saturday night. Terry Lawler's are going to be there. So if you can't get enough of Terry on Friday at Tannery Row, him and Big Andy are going to take on the Dirt Road Dynasty there. There's a loser leaves town match for the TV title where Jerry Nelms is challenging Crown Jewel himself, Mr. Pat Roach.
Good old Pat Roach. Good old Pat Roach, friend of the show, probably my number 3 wrestler. Pat Roach has been champion for over 200 days, Nick. Over 200 days.
That he has. Look, the tag team titles are going to be on the line. Unrated are going to defend those against, friend of the show, Damian Bennett. It's been a long time since we've, caught up and chatted with Damian Bennett.
I haven't talked to him forever.
Yeah, but he's always been one of the, from the old days, of the show. Like, he's been around for a long time for us. Big friend of the show, so we love Damian Bennett, and he's teaming up with Luke Stone to go after those titles. And by the way, Jacob Ashworth.
Oh, that man was selling tickets. Everybody loves him. Coastal Empire's got a big show in Savannah. Man, they're killing it right there. Bringing in CT Keys. Love that guy.
CT's their champ, dude. Went in the last show, captured the goal at the last show, facing Randall Reno with none other than Donald Jakes himself, man. That's I get it. They're trying to, get back what they think is rightfully theirs. But I'm always saying, if you're a betting guy, do not, and I repeat, do not put your money against CT Cutthroat Keys. But of course, Zach Mosley versus the Boss Daddy Simon Sermon. He's going to be with Donald Jakes as well. Yeah, Donald Jakes got his, he's got his whole, he's got his fingers in everything down there.
Every plate. Every
place. Yeah, absolutely. If it's a collection plate, especially, I bet he's got his fingers in that plate.
I mean, there is so much young, very talented, great people on this show. This is something. If you want to see what's brand new in Georgia, this is a place to go, man.
The Chaos Championship, Flying Fro is going to be defending against Hakeem Young. Flying Fro's been just crushing it down there. Hakeem Young, since, he's kind of shown his true colors down there at Coastal.
Been good
Lots of stuff has changed. Yeah. Look, time will tell if it's going to work out for him or not and capture that goal. But don't forget Cornelius Pepperbottom, Nikki A., Dax Anthony, Young Mighty Joe, Chip Schuyler, all and more down there at Coastal Empire. You can get your tickets, by the way. How about this, Myron? You can actually get your tickets ahead of time via Cash App. Cash App.
Nice.
Look, it's $ Coastal EMP Wrestling. That is $ Coastal EMP Wrestling. Front row's $20. General admission's $15. Free for kids, 10 and under, of course. So, again, check them out. By the way, I hear the beer and the burgers ain't bad there down there at Coastal Empire. That's what the word on the street is.
I love the show you can get a burger at, man.
But, look, then we're going to head on over, same night, Saturday night. Shoot on over. You can do Tifton, Georgia. Kraken Pro Wrestling, by the way. You know what's cool about Kraken Pro? So, yeah, they're running a show this weekend. But did you know this week on YouTube, they're putting out Cedric Terrell, ERC. They're going to take on the H-Town hitters. Huckabee's on there facing Lamar Diggs. They just, again, subscribe to the YouTube channel, man. I think that's a key thing that we tell you to keep you in the loop with the stories between shows.
Yep.
It's the best way to absolutely do it. But, man, look, they do a lot of young talents there.
Yes.
But how jacked am I to see Trevor Aon is facing Dominic Stuckey in the main event?
They are doing so good with that. Such good booking. So innovative of getting those YouTube shows out. And that's going to be a phenomenal match right there. All kind of tag team action. All-star special. my favorite tag team right there. It's so good to have them back in action like that. Rose Gold is going to debut down there. So J2 Strong, love J2 Strong. Hadn't seen that guy in forever. So
Yeah, I mean, look, just in case reached out and said, make sure you know that the business, Lamar Diggs and J2 Strong are going to be there. And I'm like, I got it. I don't think we could see a Kraken show and those guys not show up.
yeah,
But, look, kudos to all those involved. Huckabee's doing a great job with that booking down there. Skag's doing, all this, the business side of it back down there. Great little show down there in Tifton, Georgia. So check them out. Kraken Pro Wrestling this Saturday. But then, again, we're still on Saturday, Myron, over in Carrollton.
Yep.
Premier All-Star. Look, the Premier All-Star Championship match.
Yep.
Stevie Ray Frost, AJ Black. Like I put a tip of my cap to those kids. Yep. I don't know if you saw. Vane and Black, the Standard, they captured their gold. At the New Legacy Pro Show this past weekend.
They're everywhere.
They're putting in the work, man. That's all. That's all I can say, right? Look, a bunch of Aaron Dallas is going to be on the card. Payne and Gaines is going to be on the card. On and on and on. Full Throttle Frankie Valentine's going to be on that card, dude. So check them out this Saturday. I think their tickets are $10. Kids and under 10 and under are free. So great little fun. If you're over in Carrollton, swing on over to Premier All-Star.
Yep. Well, how about OSWA?
They're back.
Cornelia.
Yeah,
Yep.
It's that's a promotion I always tell people you got to follow them on social media because they don't run like a monthly show, so you kind of got to keep up when they're running. But how about some names they're bringing in, man? Nick Halen, Hunter James.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard two other names that haven't been announced that I'm like, I don't want to say them because I'm like,
ooh,
hey, I don't want to speak out of turn and them not be there. But if there's two specific names that I heard were going to be there, if they're there, dude, check it out in Cornelia, man. But Tower versus Nick Halen for the Ultimate Championship. Hunter James versus Kyle Phillips. So Manson and Popham. This is kind of one of the stories of the show. Clint Eller and a mystery partner are going to try to settle this thing once and for all. So there's is anybody as big a fan of the old mystery partner angle than us?
I love mystery partners. I love parts unknown. I love any kind of mask wrestler. It's always been one of my favorites. Now, is this a loser leaves town match?
I don't think so. I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but that's I just want to see it for the blood feud. These guys have been just feuding and feuding and feuding. So but that's when they got that old mystery partner coming in, I'm like, all right, I'm in, man. I'm in. But that's still, you ready for this, Myron? It's still not the end of the line. Saturday up there in Chatsworth, Georgia, Renegade Championship Wrestling. Man, look, Tyler Gazaway and his team up there, they just roll, man. It's like clockwork. Typically, they run the first and third Saturday of every month on the Saturday there. But look, I just want to tip my cap to anybody that just keeps plugging along and doing their thing.
Much respect.
Kudos to them. Oh yeah, so tip of the cap to Tyler and all the stuff they do. But look, Zach Malone's going to be on the card. Josh Hampton, I believe that's your main.
Yep.
Prater's on the card. Torque's on the card. Many, many more. So start following them on social media as well, because if they're running twice a month, keep you in the loop to know who's on those cards up there in Chatsworth, Georgia, this Saturday. Renegade Championship Wrestling. Man, that's a lot of shows. And by the way, we looked into September. It's going to be even crazier.
God. September's cards are crazy. Picking out where we're going is like we're going to have to split up a couple of times.
Oh, bunch of times. And if we split up, man, we got to do like little videos maybe.
Oh, yeah.
Where we've talked about that. And I think if people want those more, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Let us know, man. If we, landscape the phone, do a little review, blah, blah, blah of the show, like the instant, I know Heath does them, the Heath's hot takes sometimes. Yeah. That, man, we just put them over there on our YouTube channel. By the way, I don't think I could make your life any easier, folks. YouTube, we used to say, go to youtube.com and then search for it. No. tappedoutpod.com. That is right. tappedoutpod.com will take you straight to our YouTube page. You can like the page, subscribe to the page, turn on all that stuff to get all the free content. But if you want some of that bonus stuff, you want the show early and the stuff we're talking about here, which we're going to start kind of putting the hammer down and start doing, tappedoutpod.com. Become a member. And that way you get that kind of stuff. By the way, also, you can do it on our Patreon page. That is patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Couldn't be any easier, man.
Way to go.
Well, man, that's a lot. Yeah. And, but even we're going to end it kind of on the same note as we came in. 8 years. We're 2 days away. We're 2 years past the 8-year mark. I always joke we were too stupid to quit in the beginning. Now I don't know that I can.
Yeah, we're too far in now.
But how long can we go? That's always the $1 million question.
It's kind of a dare now.
Yeah. And again, we do want to mention, like, when we talked about the audio podcast, so the audio podcast isn't going away per se. The old feed will kind of stop. And so you will have to move over, and this is it. This is the last episode that'll be on the current audio feed. So that's kind of a lot of pressure. I mean, this is it. Everything else will move over to the Patreon feed, or, that'll go straight to, you can add it to the YouTube music. You could do it on Apple Podcasts. You can create that feed from the Patreon, or you can, and look, if I can find a way to get the link for free, I'll put it up on social media. The problem is my creator would give you access to absolutely everything for free. So I can't do that.
All of the power.
So, yeah, man. So, look, what a heck of a ride, 8 years. And, look, it's not wasted on us now that, like what we get to do on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
So, thanks to everybody. This. Well, anything else before we get out of here, man? Or
go to these indie shows, buy T-shirts from your indie stars. I've got on one of these Alexander Lev T-shirts. The guy sold me. You got to love this, folks. You have a direct line to interact with people who are going to be on the top of the cards one day. So I'm telling you, this is where to go to catch it all. But that's all I got, man.
Well, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.